Today, let's talk about religion. Religion. Now, religion is the middleman between man and God. What every religion tries to do is to reconnect man back to God. Religion tries to help you trace your step back to God. Every religion. That is what they're trying to do. Now, it doesn't matter how they do it, the method they use, but this is the sole purpose of every religion. Now, new religions are birthed when people can't find answers to the questions in their hearts. Now, when you ask someone, say, okay, if God created uh, only one human being, how come we have Spanish, the Spaniards? How come we have Asians, Africans, Caucasians, Americans, and all these people are different species of the human race? When you see a Chinese person or an Asian, maybe Japanese, they look different. Their height, their hair texture, their eyeballs, they look different. You can just tell that this is a Chinese man. And there is no way on earth that an African can give birth to a Chinese man. An African of both descents, the man and the woman are black people. They cannot meet together and give birth to a Chinese man or an Asian looking person. It has never happened in the history of mankind. There is no way two Chinese people will mate together and give birth to a black man. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is no way two Americans, white people, will sleep together and give birth to a black baby. And there is no way two black people will sleep together and now give birth to a Caucasian or a blonde, a white person with long hair, the gene, everything. It doesn't happen. So how come God created only Adam, and does it mean Adam gave birth to Chinese man or the Australian, the Spaniards, the Caucasian, the Africans, the Asians, but we can do the same? I thought we are his offspring. So that shows you that that story is not complete. It is what it is, 100. I give it to you 100. It tells you that that story is not complete. That story is not that it's not true, but it's incomplete. The truth of the matter is that God did not create one person. God did not create one person. I repeat again, God never created one person. Everything that God created is in species, is in different types. And I'll dedicate another lesson for that. Where I'm going is religions are birthed when people cannot find answers. Because when you ask pastors, they'll say you don't know more than God. Let's leave that. What you cannot understand. Wherever the Bible is silent, we are silent. Wherever the scriptures are quiet, we're quiet. So when people can find answers, they say no. That is how new religion is birthed. Let me ask you another question again. You as a human being, if your son offends you, you can just say, I forgive you. Or you can choose not to forgive and say, I'll punish you for this thing you've done. Right? So we have the power to forgive, we have the power to punish, and we have the power to right off wrongs. Your children can offend you and you choose not to punish them. Do you understand that? And if we are made in the likeness of God, how come we offended God and God is unable to forgive us? Then he now says, before I can forgive you, I will have to die and go to the grounds and come back again. I will have to become a human being. I will have to become a son. I will have to duplicate myself. I will have to leave heaven before I can ever forgive you. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. God can just say, okay, I know you've done wrong. He is all in all. He can just say, okay, I know you've done wrong, but I forgive you. And you can say, okay, For this wrong you've done, I will never forgive you. We have examples of that in the scriptures. You understand that? So for someone to say, before God can forgive us, he had to become a human being. He had to become a son. He has to be born as a human. He has to come to the earth and die and go back. That's when he can forgive us, and now he can restore us to the glory we had before the world began. If he has restored us, how come we cannot have the flesh that Adam had? Mind you, Adam that God created did not have human flesh like this. He was a celestial being, radiating in glory. He could go inside water. Shark could not eat him. Do you understand that? He could not drown in water. That is the Adam that God created. He's not a normal human being like this. So if God or Christ actually died and he became a human being to restore us, if that story is true, how come we are still like this since the beginning of the world? How come we are still like this since you've become, as in for thousands of years? So that is a question that Christianity cannot answer. So when people cannot find answers in a particular religion, they birth another religion. And that is what just happened right now. What you are about to get into right now is called archery. It's called what? Archery. This is a new religion. It's called archery. It might take 1,000 years, it might take 500 years, it might take 100 years, it might take 400 years for it to be established. Someone has to start it. I do not claim that I have all the answers to the questions in your hearts, but I know enough to be your spiritual guide. Join me as we come into the study of religions. Now, religion is the middleman between man and God. The truth of the matter is that you don't need religion to be connected to God. You do not need religion to be connected to God. You do not need religion to communicate with God. You do not need to be a Christian. You don't need to be a Muslim. You don't need to be a Buddhist. You don't need to be a Hindu. You don't need to be an archer. You don't need to be a Muslim. I don't know. Whatever religion, fill in the blanks. You don't need any religion in the world to be connected with God. Let's go back to the founding fathers that we have in the Bible. Remember, I said I believe in Jesus Christ, so I read a lot of Bible and I still read Bible till date. Now, Abraham was never a Christian. Let's talk about people who really communicated with God. Abraham was not a Christian. Now, before you persecute me or prosecute me or judge me or nail me, listen. Who is a Christian? A Christian is anyone who believes in Jesus Christ. Anyone who believes in Jesus Christ and is behaving like Jesus, acting like Jesus, is a Christian. And they were first called Christians in Antioch because they have the mannerism of Christ. They're behaving like Christ, not what we have today. When, I don't want to go there so it doesn't look like I'm judging, but I'm meant to judge because a spiritual man judges all things. But let's not go there. I don't want to digress. So that is what a Christian is. So Abraham never saw Christ. Christ was not born then. Christ has not come. So he did not have any encounter with Christ. So he was not a Christian. Abraham is not a Christian, but he had an encounter with God. And I don't think there's anyone who walks with God the way Abraham did in this time and age. Like that God will have to come to him, to negotiate with him, to talk with him, to tell him his next plan, that he wants to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. No, come on. He was communicating with God. He was not a Christian. Let's start from the beginning. Adam was not a Christian, but he was communicating with God in the cool of the evening. Let's go to Noah. Let's go to Enoch. Bible says that Enoch walked with God and God took him away, but he was not a Christian. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I don't know what kind of miracle is that people walk in the midst of fire and they were not burnt. As a matter of fact, a fourth man came in their midst in the middle of the fire. They were not Christians. So I said all of this to make you understand that if you want to communicate with God, if you want to relate with God, you don't need any religion in the world, not even archery, not Christianity. So I'm talking about religion now. What religion does is to try to connect humans back to God. That is the motive. Because there is a need in man, because man is spiritual, so there is a yawning gulf, there is an emptiness in man that is looking for fulfillment, that is looking for a way to fill it. So when man could not fathom it, when like Africans, when they can't feel it, but there's this need for God. So they mold things, they carve things, they mold images, they go to shrines, they worship mountains, rivers. They just try to create something to carve a niche to fill that vacuum of God, that God factor in man. Man tries to always fill it. When some people, in the bid of trying to fill that vacuum, they go on meditation. They say they don't believe in God. They believe in soul. They do soul travel. They just sit down. They practice yoga. All this is just an expression of trying to fill that God factor that is missing. They can tell you they don't believe in any religion. I just go, I meditate. What they're trying to say is, I feel an emptiness in me. I feel there's a spiritual part of me yearning for expression, seeking a divine being, trying to connect back to that source where I came from. So in that bid of trying to connect to where they came from, they practice all sort of things. That is what gave birth to every religion we have. Islam is just a way to connect you back to God. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have proper knowledge, proper understanding of how to relate with God, you do not need any religion to do so. So if we don't need any religion, why do we still have religion? We have religion because religion is one of the proponents that govern the earth. There are 3 proponents that govern the earth. One is governments. The second one is religion. The third one, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you in another teaching. I don't want to go into that. So religion is one of the proponents that governs the earth. So in order to have a smooth ride on the face of the earth, you need to belong to a sect. You need to belong to a particular religion. So imagine you want to get married to someone, you go to your in-laws' house, they will ask you, are you a Christian or a Muslim? What religion do you practice? If you tell them, I don't practice any religion, they'll get skeptical, they get scared, you might not be able to marry that woman. Do you understand it? Because they've not heard that kind of thing before. So in order to have a smooth ride, to avoid problem, you just need to identify with one religion, even if you don't practice their beliefs. Imagine when you go to embassies, they will ask you what religion. You need to feel something. When you go to schools, everywhere. We want to rent a house, they ask you what's your religion. So in order to just, even when you join political parties, you need to state your religion. So you must just belong to somewhere, even if you don't believe what they do. It's just wisdom. That is the wisdom. So that is why we just need to just identify with, okay, I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim. Just by mouth. Do you understand that? So religion is one of the proponents that governs the earth. In my next teaching, I'm going to be talking about how to develop a relationship with God. How do you connect with God? If you don't need religion to relate with God, so how do I relate with God properly?